You know the feeling, right? You're getting ready for your fantasy football draft, just looking for a simple list of the best players. And what you get is, well, it's a mess. So today, we're going to untangle this thing. We're going to figure out how you can actually use all this data to win your league.
So you land on a major sports site and boom, you're just hit with this wall of noise. You've got links for the NFL, sure, but also NASCAR, something called 3 Ice. I mean, who even knows? And buried somewhere in all of that is the one thing you actually came for, the fantasy football rankings. And okay, let's say you finally find the football menu. What do you get? Just endless submenus. You're just scrolling and scrolling past every single team, just trying to find the rankings. It really does feel less like you're doing research and more like you're hacking your way through some kind of data jungle with a machete.
Look, it's a super familiar feeling, right? You don't need a PhD in website navigation. You just want a simple cheat sheet for your draft. All you're thinking is, just show me the numbers.
All right, so let's cut through all that noise. Let's do it. Think of this explainer as your guide. You know, the map and the machete you need to get through that data jungle and find the numbers that are actually going to help you win your league.
So, after all that clicking and scrolling, you finally find it, the rankings cheat sheet. But now you've got a whole new problem. It's just this dense grid of names and numbers and symbols. It honestly looks like somebody just smashed a bunch of different lists into one. So what in the world are we actually looking at here?
Okay, so here's the first and maybe the most important thing you have to understand. These rankings, they are not objective facts that were sent down from some supercomputer. Nope, they are the educated opinions of individual people, analysts who live and breathe this stuff every single day. So for the example we're using from CBS Sports, you've got Jamie Eisenberg, Dave Richard, and Heath Cummings. These guys are their senior fantasy writers. And the really key thing to remember is that every single one of them brings their own biases, their own beliefs to the table when they sit down to make their personal rankings.
And you can see right away, look at this. These experts do not always agree. Take a look at rookie QB Jaden Daniels. Jamie and Dave both have him at number 3. But Heath, he is all in, ranking him at number 1. Then you look at Baker Mayfield, and it's the opposite. Heath is way lower on him than the other guys. This right here is the crucial takeaway. These are just informed, but very different opinions.
And hey, if you need any more proof, you don't have to take my word for it. Just look at the site's own fine print. It literally says the content is for entertainment purposes only and that they make no warranty as to the accuracy. Come on. The site itself is telling you flat out, these are educated guesses. They are not gospel.
Okay, so if all the experts disagree, whose opinion are you supposed to follow, right? Well, that's where probably the most important column on the whole page comes in, the consensus rank. This is how we find the wisdom of the crowd. It's actually a really simple concept when you break it down. So first, each expert, our guys Jamie, Dave, and Heath, they all publish their own individual lists. Then some system automatically scoops up all of those lists. And finally, it just calculates an average rank for every player, and that gives you the consensus number. It's really just a way to smooth out the super bold outlier opinions and get a good feel for the player's general market value. All right, so now we get the difference between the expert ranks and the consensus rank. Let's do a quick lightning round and decode the other key symbols you're going to see on one of these cheat sheets. First up, those dollar values, no, that's not their NFL salary. That's for auction drafts. So if you're in an auction league, that's the projected cost out of your budget. But even if you're not, it's a really great way to visualize just how much draft capital a player is expected to cost. Think of it like a price tag. Next is the bye week column. This is your strategic planner. Of course, you know the basics, right? Don't stack all your best players with the same bye week. But here's a pro tip. Check their matchups coming out of the bye too. Because sometimes a tired team traveling on the road after a week off, that can be a recipe for a total dud performance. And finally, you've got the status alerts. Look, you already know what Q for questionable, O for out, and IR for injured reserve mean. But during a draft, you should see these as opportunities. A player who's marked Q might just slip a few rounds, and that can give you amazing value if you're willing to take a little calculated risk on their health. So, we've done it. We know how to read the chart, we've cut through the noise, we've decoded the numbers. The big question is, how do we turn all this information into an actual winning draft strategy? So what's the game plan? It really boils down to this. First, and say it with me, rankings are just opinions, not facts. Second, whenever you see that the experts disagree, that's where you find your opportunity for value. Third, you want to use that consensus rank as your baseline, your starting point for market value, but it is not the final word. And finally, number 4, your goal isn't just to follow the list blindly, it's to find the gaps, the space between what the crowd thinks and what a sharp expert thinks, and use that to build a team that crushes the average. So, this all leads to the one big question you have to answer for yourself on draft day. When you're on the clock and it's ticking down, are you going to trust the crowd and take the safe consensus player? Or are you going to be a contrarian? Are you going to look for that arbitrage opportunity? That one player an expert absolutely loves, but the rest of the crowd is sleeping on? Because your answer to that question, well, that's going to define your entire season.